Joe Douglas strikes again as Davante Adams has signed a contract rework with the New York Jets, allowing the cap to go significantly down in an absolute masterclass by Jets GM Joe Douglas. And we're going to break this down. So what's up, guys? Welcome back to Jets Digest. It's Chris and Matt here. And make sure to subscribe to the channel. 7.5% of viewers are subscribed. And that just won't do, guys. Get the numbers up. If you're liking the video, just hit the subscribe button. It won't change your life, but it will change mine and Matt's a bit. But guys, here's the deal. The New York Jets and Davante Adams agreed to a contract restructure, and it is just a Joe Douglas masterclass. And this was broken to us by Ian Rappaport, who mentioned that the Jets and Davante Adams agreed to a restructure for his 2024 contract, lessening the cap hit, and they will also likely have to adjust in 2025 and 2026 eventually. And he mentions that the move will provide the team with some short-term salary cap relief. The two sides will probably need to strike a similar bargain next year, considering his contract originally called for him to count for $36.3 million against the cap. The restructure is a little surprising because the Jets had enough cap space to take on Adams' prorated salary of $11.7 million for the rest of the year. They didn't need to lower his number now, and doing so will only tack on a higher long-term cost to their payroll. I mean, Matt, considering all that, clearly an interesting move by the Jets. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so obviously this is a great move for the Jets, giving Davante Adams, lowering his salary to only, right now, his base salary for this year is $806,000. What they did is they added two what's called void years to the end of the contract, and what these not real years allow the Jets contract to do is be more spread out. So it's 2 extra years that they can spread out Davante Adams' money. He was owed $11 million in change, but now we spread out that $11 million over the next 5 years. So what's going to happen is after this year, Davante Adams is due for that $36 million cap hit that we, of course, can't pay. So the Jets are either going to restructure that or just cut Davante Adams. And in the event that he would be cut, they would have to pay all that money that they pushed down the road. They would have to pay it right there, right away in 2025. But every Jets fan can clearly see that Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams want to play together. So if Aaron Rodgers is still there, Davante Adams is going to find a way to get his contract restructured in a way that works for the New York Jets to get them both, Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams, in New York long term. And Chris, they were saying how they were surprised that even though the Jets had enough cap room, they still wanted to get Davante Adams' number down. And I don't think it's surprising at all, because we were talking about how they have $17 million in change remaining. Davante Adams now hits for $3.2 million. That leaves them with a little bit over $14 million in cap space left. Chris, does the number, does any number a little bit over $14.5 million, does that number in cap space terms mean anything to you?
Not really.
Do you have any ideas?
Throw it at me. What do you got for me?
Hassan Reddick's contract. That's what Hassan Reddick's cap hit is going to be if he shows up to the Jets. So the plan is the Jets have picked up Davante Adams, and they still have the room for Hassan Reddick should he show up to Jets training camp, or not training camp anymore. Should he show up to the Jets organization, Jets practice, they are going to have the room for Hassan Reddick and Davante Adams. That's the only way this move makes sense, unless they're going out and planning on acquiring something else, which right now around the league, one, there aren't a ton of players available for trade at the moment, but that could change within the coming weeks before the trade deadline. But we've talked about the whole year. The Jets have one of the best rosters in the league. Now it comes down to coaching. It comes down to execution. We have some of the best players in the league. They just have to play well. We don't need to trade for more players, because the guys we bring in are pretty much better than any player in the trade market who could be reasonably acquired. So the plan for the Jets right now, it seems clear to me. This is why we talked about yesterday. We were confused why they said they have a short window to find a trade partner for Hassan Reddick. And it's only a short window because they want to know whether they are going to have Hassan Reddick and whether they need to free up cap space for him to come back. So to me, clearly the Jets' plan is to have Davante Adams and still have enough room for Hassan Reddick, because they want Hassan Reddick back in the building. They want Hassan Reddick on the team. Woody Johnson, who is probably a little bit more involved than Jets fans would like to see. He no doubt told Joe Douglas, I want Hassan Reddick. He went and he told the media he wanted Hassan Reddick. So now they have enough cap space for Reddick. They have enough cap space for Adams. And once we bring those guys in, we'll see what Coach Jeff Ulbrich is going to be able to do with that roster.
Yeah, and I mean, the restructure makes some sense in the fact that, yeah, now you have room for Hassan Reddick should he show up. And speaking of, Reddick's really the only guy who's available for a trade right now. It's just curious to see, are the Jets going to go out there and move him? Is Hassan going to come back? It feels like obviously the Jets were aware of the Hassan Reddick saga being something that they don't know what's going to happen with. And because of that, they made this restructure work. And it makes you wonder what the chances are that Davante will be here long term. Like, obviously, he'll be in the NFL longer than Aaron Rodgers, one would assume. Or from this point on, he'll probably spend an extra year or two in the NFL over Rodgers. It's curious if that's going to be with the Jets or not, is my question. Because obviously, it feels like Rodgers is going to be back next year, so him and Adams can have a full year. So Rodgers can have a full year of playing for the Jets under his belt for next year for them to turn around and try to build off of this season. And I could see that being the last year of Aaron Rodgers. He would be 41 years old then, so it would make sense. But at the same time, you look at the Jets, you do wonder when Rodgers is going to call it, because that has just such a great effect on how the Jets and Adams are going to move forwards. What do you think would happen in that scenario?
Yeah, so for me, there's no question what Davante Adams' plan is. He went to the Raiders because he wants to, one, get paid, and two, he wanted to play with a quarterback that he liked, who was Derek Carr. So he is not going to put himself in. Oh, and then Derek Carr left, and he was stuck on a team that was bad and didn't have a quarterback who he liked. So he's not going to get himself stuck in that situation again. The Jets are going to either cut him or rework his contract after this year. So Davante Adams is going to make sure that that contract has ultimate flexibility to allow him to see he's going to play for the Jets as long as Rodgers is here. Once Rodgers is gone, he's going to be gone at the exact same time. Mm-hmm. No question, no doubt. He is gone the second Aaron Rodgers is gone. And however long that's going to be, that is yet to be seen. I would imagine Aaron Rodgers, just like you, he'll be here for this year and probably next year as well, and then he'll probably retire. So I would expect 2 years of Davante Adams, which would mean Davante Adams, some of the money that is owed, like those big, scary $36 million numbers on the last 2 years of his contract, those are not happening. Don't worry about those. Those are not guaranteed. Davante Adams knows he's not getting that money. He was given that money by the Raiders just to make it look like he was the highest paid receiver in the league, because he technically was the highest paid receiver in the league, even though he really wasn't. But he got to tell all his friends he was. He got to technically be the highest paid wide receiver in the league. But now we got 2 years of Aaron Rodgers, 2 years of Davante Adams. And another thing about pushing the salary down the road, Chris, maybe not every single year, but most of these years we've seen the salary cap raise So going forwards, we can imagine that the salary cap is going to continue to get higher. So pushing these $2 million per year of Davante Adams down the road, it's going to amount to a smaller percentage of the Jets cap space, because we're going to have more of it.
Makes sense. And honestly, looking at the Jets, it feels like now from this point on, obviously their chances to make the playoffs has jumped with getting Davante Adams, just because the connection him and Rodgers are going to have is going to be huge. Garrett Wilson's going to be able to see firsthand how this thing works, and it's going to help him next season. I mean, they won't have DJ Reed next year most likely, but they will have still a solid defense, one would hope, given it looked terrible against the Bills the other day. It does feel like the Jets made a move in the right direction, and getting this rework done is just another step in the right direction, and shows that if nothing else, Joe Douglas is good at his job, and Woody Johnson should not get any ideas of letting Douglas go, in my mind. I do want to know what the world thinks, though. What do the commenters think, Matt? Personally, that's what I'm curious about. So, guys, make sure to leave your comment down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day, and go Jets.